Hi, and welcome to That's So Nova. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Today we're going to be doing the Cadena Tote, and the tote is literally named after chains and connections, and it's really fun because it's kind of emulating what these handles are. This bag has handles that are chains. That is a continuous chain, and I'm going to show you how to do the chain. It has like not hidden connectors but interior connectors that we're going to do, that you do see the outside rivets. It has a recess zipper, which is nice and taut. We are going to have a crossbody with the Oro Rosa's way of doing a crossbody. You're gonna have two slip pockets and two zipper pockets and a nice and taut, like, you know, lining, which who doesn't love. The bag does have purse feet, and there are optional things that you can and cannot, you know, you can and can omit from the pattern, but it's a really fun pattern. Please, when you get the pattern, read over it, look at the materials. And for your first bag, I really do think you should do what the designer is kind of asking for you when it comes down to vinyls and stuff like that, so that way it can go smoothly. And I'm going to give you tips and tricks along the way. So please go get your Cadena Tote pattern. I do have a link in the bio as well as in the comment section. It is an affiliate link, and it does give me a small kickback. And grab your pattern, grab your materials, and maybe like some water or whatever, and let's get started. All right, so like I said in the intro, we're going to be doing the Cadena Tote. And just so I can give you the parameters, the Cadena is a quick, fun tote that finishes off with the chain. So we're going to have a lot of fun making this. I don't feel like this is a advanced tote, but I feel like you're going to have fun no matter what skill level you're on. So let's dive into this. So the first couple pages gives you like what you need. Page 3 gives you all the hardware that you're going to need for the pattern. Page 6 gives you all of the information what you need to cut out for the pattern. And then there's quite a few pages on prep. Again, with the Oro Rosa pattern, prep work makes the dream bag. If you take the time to do the prep work, you're going to wind up loving your bag. So after you do all the prep work, we are going to do the first part, which is getting we're going to start doing our connectors and stuff. So we're going to grab our connectors, and you're going to find your centers, and you're going to put your long edges so they could butt up right next to each other. And I'm going to get my seam ruler so that way I can get this to adhere really well. I'm using Wah-Wah tape, and it's a permanent tape, so I want it to do a good job. And we're going to back stitch at the beginning of end of each stitch 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to trim my tails, and I'm just going to keep them together until we're about to use them and they're all sewn together. All right, then we're going to mosey on over to page 17, and we're going to get the chain keeper. And on the chain keeper, it is going to be pattern piece E. You're going to find your center. You're going to draw a line that's down the center, and then from this point here to the point that's up here, you're going to draw a line. You're going to put double-sided tape on on that line, I didn't have 1/8 of an inch at the time that I put this on here. So I used what I worked with. I grabbed whatever I had, and you're going to put double-sided tape down the center. You're going to fold over and you're going to match. You're going to fold over to the center. And you're going to finger press or seam roll this right here. Now we're going to top stitch, because it should look like this. Moseying on over to page 18. We're going to top stitch right here on the sides. And I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and end of the top stitching. One-eighth of an inch. This is going to be where your chain is going to be pulling through. I cannot stress to you this enough. Please use thinner vinyl. If you're trying to use marine vinyl or like glitter vinyl, woo, child, you're asking to set yourself up for failure. It's easier to do it, and when we get to the chain part, you'll see what I'm talking about. You're going to be threading a chain through this channel, and you want it to be kind of flexible. The thicker the vinyl, it's harder to thread. And because there's not a lot of bags with this technique, you want to explore this first and try it out first. And then if you master this technique, then you can try it with different materials or thicker materials. But for your first bag, do what the pattern kind of requests you to do and suggest, because it's kind of setting you up for a good result versus you trying something, a technique that you've never done before, and setting yourself up maybe for frustration. So once you have that, you're going to do that to the other side, to the other one. And I'm just going to put this down. You should have two. I'm just going to put these two, clip them together, and you'll have two. Okay? Now we're going to do our crossbody. So clips just want to be clipping in my face. This piece is the long strap that is the first cut on page 6. You're going to take some double-sided tape and you're going to fold long edges to meet the center. And you can see I have 1/8 of an inch kind of in the center so they can fold onto each other. Once we have that, we're going to fold over, and then we're going to clip if you wish, and we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to start off with a back stitch. I'm going to show you something I've been recently doing to my bags. I do like to make geeky bags, but I feel like you can do this with non-geeky bags. I've been falling in love with like custom Chicago screws, but I also like these custom Chicago screws that I've been seeing at Tandy Leather. Like they'll be like gears and shifts, or like little skulls, or they'll have roses. And to kind of jazz up my my straps, I've been doing something a little bit different. And when I've been making these bags for customers, they've been noticing. So I wanted to share it with you on this one. It's nothing to deviate from this tutorial, but I just thought it would be a fun little tip, a little modification. It's the exact same way we're going to do the strap, but just something a little cute. And if you don't want to use double-sided tape in the center, you could fold it in and then just clip it as you go. And then I'm gonna mosey on over a couple stitches. And then I kind of let this fly. As I let my pattern fall. It's kind of fun just to let your machine go ham for a little bit. Especially, my favorite time to let my my handle or my strap to fly is when I just like oil the machine and I want the gears to get all like lubricated. All right, so we're gonna get our hardware. You're gonna need 2 swivel hooks and a tri-glider. And what you're gonna need 2 rivets. But what I'm gonna also get is 1 decorative Chicago screw. This is gonna be used for purely decoration and not for the actual bag. So get my rivets. So we're on page 20. So her straps are pretty the same. On one end, you're going to put your swivel hook on one side and you're going to fold over 1.5 inches. I find it a little bit easier for this one because like fold over, depending on the vinyl that you use, can be it can be like a 1/8 to 1/4 or sometimes even a 3/8 of an inch. So what I like to do is I like to take a ruler and just measure 3/8 of an inch and just put not 3/8 of an inch, 3 inches, and just put like a small little dot, and that is going to be a 1.5 inch fold over. So I will put it here, and this is going to be the first swivel hook that's going to go on, and I'm going to put my rivet in the center about 3/8 of an inch. I tell people to put your rivets depending on whether or not you're going to use strap-ins or not. If you're not going to use strap-ins, you can put it higher, closer, whatever. But for the sake of this video, I am not using strap-ins. I am going to be using like a decorative feature. So I'm just going to put my rivets here, and I'm going to punch this here. Do the sew or swivel, and it's done. Okay, and I'm going to pre-punch this because like I need to sharpen my sharpen this. So this is how it's going to look. What I've been liking to do is I like to put a decorative Chicago screw right here. So the bag that I'm making today, the fabric I'm using is like a Hello Kitty. So I have this really cute, charming Hello Kitty Chicago screw that I'm going to stick only on one side. It's not going to go through and through. So I'm just going to make another hole right underneath the hole, only on one side. Whew. This one is not trying to punch through. Okay. And you could put a piece of stabilizer there, but this has a really nice backing. Some Chicago screws have like better like don't have really good back screws. This one has a pretty decent screw backing. And you could put some Loctite there or whatever you wish, but it's not going to go anywhere. You can see it's in there pretty good. And now I'm going to put my rivet right in there, and I'm going to set it. And I'm setting it with my rivet press. It goes down like twice. And you can kind of see it's really cute. It's just like the cutest. Now it has like a decorative feature. So when someone's wearing their bag, they have this beautiful like hardware. And now they also have like a cute little Hello Kitty. So from here, we are going to keep our strap nice and straight. We're going to grab our tri-glide. Hold on, I'm going to trim this even. I hate when it's not even. We're going to grab our tri-glide. We're going to feed it through, up and over. We're going to grab our other swivel hook and feed it in. And then we're going to go back through, up, and over. And you're going to fold it over roughly 1.5 inches, and you're going to just keep it on. You're not going to put it on this side. You want it to fold over onto itself. Once you have that, you're just going to punch a hole. And you're going to put a rivet through it. And you're going to set it. It's very similar to what we see standard straps being made, but it's just kind of in reverse. And it took a while for me to like the straps like this, but there is a significant difference. So because the strap is like this, it kind of gives it an elongated look to it, and it looks really sleek because we're used to seeing this part right here on the outside. And it just, I don't know, it looks really, really good. I kind of like doing my straps this way now. At first I wasn't, but it's now roughly begin to be my favorite way to do straps. For the past 3 years, this is like the only way I like to do straps, really. So now we have this and we can put it to the side. All right. So now we're going to grab the base of our bag. And this one's going to be pretty cool. We're going to grab the base and we're going to be putting some bag feet on. So how we find the measurements to our bag feet is on page 21. You're going to measure 1 1/4 of an inch in on the long edges, and on the short edges you're going to measure 2.5 inches towards it. So on the long edges you're going to go down 1 1/4 of an inch, and on the short edges you're going to go in 2.5 inches. Okay. So this is how you get it. Then you're going to punch holes, and from there you're going to just, I'm using prongs. You can use screw-ins, rivet feet, whatever you have available. Like, just use what you got, you know. I've seen some pretty creative one. I've seen somebody have really awesome, like they made like button feet from like their buttons that they collected, and I thought that was so crazy, inventive, and pretty awesome. Okay. going to put these washers on. And then I'm going to take this foam, this self-adhesive foam, and I'm just going to place this over the washers because this is a birth bag that's getting birth. We're going to birth it, so I don't want to accidentally cut my hand or have the material wear down faster over time. You can put electrical tape, or if you have self-adhesive vinyl, whatever you have available, use it. You know, use what you got. Duct tape. No one's going to see it, so you're good. All right. So on the corner of each of the edges, you need to make little 3/8 of an inch boxes because they're going to be parameters that we're going to stop and start sewing, and it's going to help tremendously. Okay, so we have that. Let's mosey on over to page 22. And if you have a nameplate, this is a good place where to put it. In figure 50, she has a placement where you could put it on. I, for whatever the reason may be, could not find my nameplates that go with gunmetal, so I'm not putting one. So I'm going to put that to the side. But then we're going to grab the slip pocket, and we're going to put them right sides together. And we're going to sew them at 3/8 of an inch. Okay. On page 23, we're going to ever so slightly give this a nice gentle tug, and you can use a seam roller, and we're going to kind of wrap this around because we want this to not show the lining whatsoever. You kind of want this to poke out a little bit below. Okay, and then you're gonna just put a few clips in this so it can stay this way. And we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. All right. All right, we're going to trim off the excess that we have down here. So I'm just going to put a couple clips. If it's a little wonky, it's cool. Don't worry. It'll all balance out in the end. Just the excess. So like I picked a blue lining and not a gray one on purpose. So you could just see me trim off the excess blue. All right. And we're going to place this on the back piece. So this could be the back slip pocket. And we're going to baste this on. . And I'm just going to put a few clips in here to make sure nothing shifts. And base that on at 1/8 of an inch. All right. So we have our front and our back. And now we're going to grab our sides. And we're going to grab some double-sided tape. And we are going to start putting these beautiful pieces together. So this is the front. The bottom of the pyramid goes here. We're going to match up edge to edge. And I highly recommend you clipping. I know some of us get used to putting things together and not clipping. Just do yourself a favor and just clip a couple. Even if it's one, it'll help make sure nothing shifts. We're going to sew at 3/8 of an inch, back stitch at the beginning and end. We're going to get some double-sided tape. Use 1/8 or 1/4, whatever is at your disposal. 1/8 probably be better, you know, gumming up the needles and whatnot. If your machine gets gummed up, you could definitely wipe it down with alcohol, a little machine oil. All machines get gummed up. And we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to put a little bit of machine oil on my finger. When I use a lot of double-sided tape, sometimes I just put a little so that way I can prevent skip stitching. I usually like Sewer's Aid, and I had it, but I don't know where it went. I have a black hole in my room sometimes. It's one. And check your needle before each pass. Okay, let's do this other side. Lining it up. And there is some residue from the double-sided tape, so I'm just going to wipe my needle and then go 3/8 of an inch, back stitch at the beginning and the end. And I'll use like a baby cloth, a baby wipe or something after I'm done sewing. To get any machine oil off. But like on this texture, there's a lot. It's kind of just sliding. Any of my quilters, you know that like those clear grids that just help you slide and you have to use those gloves? Man, this is sliding like that. I like free motion. I feel like it's like like mountain climbing. Like it's like a thrill. Like you're like, I can do this. Like I don't feel like we give free motion quilters enough props, because that is a dangerous game, man. That is, your quilt's done and now you're just like, yeah, I can do this. I got this. All right, let's get this back on. They're just like, yeah, I can. I'm fairly confident that I got this. Now this part, there's going to be some bulk. She does suggest a hammer. I'm not joshing you. Turn to page 25. there's a not page 25, 26. There's a little smashy. Now you can do a hammer. You also can do like a little bit of clamps. You can press it, you can roll it, seam roll it, you can put a little bit of pattern weights on it. It's really your discretion. And you're gonna feel the bulge. So you can hammer it down. You could put like a nice piece of cloth down underneath it. You can seam roller it out so it could be nice and smooth. Do what you got to do. Do what makes you feel comfortable and confident. But I will tell you this. I would definitely tell you to sew the area that has the most bulk first. It'll be easier for you to do. And of course my oil has to spill. If you're on a semi-domestic, you might want to get your hump jumper ready, or have a walking foot, because you go from 2 layers to multiple layers rather quickly. If you're on a domestic, the same thing. I also think though, if you do this part and just like let it sit with a couple of books or a couple of like even like dumbbells or something on it, it can get smushed like really nicely. because it's not a tremendous amount of weight. I mean, it's not a tremendous amount of bulk. All right. We have one more time, guys. We got to complete this circle. Couple clips, and we're going to sew this at 3/8 of an inch. Okay, keeping these pieces together. All right. All right. Double-sided tape. All right. So we're going to seam roll this. Give that a good press. And then we're just going to screw this in. If you hear my dog barking, he does not like banging. Loki's not here for the banging. All right, so we're going to do this from the inside of the bag. It doesn't have a whole lot of stabilizers, so we got this. And again, this is why having kind of not so thick vinyl is going to be your friend, because we are going to have to top stitch from the inside of the bag. Okay. So we're going to get this underneath our machine and top stitch. Just be careful. Move this out of the way. And because the bag is not so big, it's not as hard as you think. I'm just going to do a few stitches and kind of turn this around so I can get onto the other side. There we go. Yay! Yay, we did it. Not too bad. All right, so we're on page 28. And we are going to find our centers. So we have what our sides are. We're going to match up our seams. And I'm just going to do a quick, just going to match up these seams really good. A quick little snip. All right. And I'm going to now match our sides. To find our center of our bag base fronts. Always finding your centers just helps tremendously. And where the bulk is, I'm just going to do a little snip too. Just do a little snip. All right. We're going to get our base of our bag. And I'm just going to find my centers real quick. I'd rather find my centers now than look at it later and be like, oh my gosh, it's a little crooked. Trust me, I've had that happen. And then I cried into my pillow while eating Oreo cookies. I wish I would say I was lying, but I'm not. All right. So we're first going to do our sides. So I'm going to do our side centers. And we are going to clip all the way to that 3/8 of an inch mark. And we're going to sew at 3/8 of an inch. So 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, but we're going to start and stop 3/8 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch. Okay? All right, and we're going to do the same on the other side. So you see I stopped and start 3/8 of an inch. We're going to do the same on the other side. Just a few clips. All right. We have that. And then we're going to snip into our 3/8 of an inch on this side. perpendicular to the all right, we're going to find our centers. I really like how this comes together. We're going to find our centers and we're going to clip all the way across. Sorry, I'm trying to turn the page while I'm doing this. And we're going to sew all the way across at 3/8 of an inch. All right, and we're going to do it again on the other side. I promise you, those rogue threads, they get the best of me. I'm going to clip the centers and then just clip across. Okay, we're going to do it again. Sew across at 3/8 of an inch. Back stitch well at the beginning and the end. And hold your threads like I did not do. You know what? It's probably for the best. My needle is super gummed up. There we go. There we go. All right. Let's see. All right. And then we're going to trim down the seam allowance to 1/8 of an inch. And just be careful. I don't really trim it all the way down to 1/8 of an inch. I have accidentally trimmed my stitches, so I do it like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't trim it all the way down to 1/8. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I probably maybe I don't know. It's not just that. It's just I'm afraid. I'm afraid of that. I'm not gonna lie. All right. Okay, and then we're gonna trim, kind of lift these areas up and just trim these little pointy areas so that we can help reduce bulk with the next steps to come. All right. we're going to retrieve our, we're going to need our chain connectors, and we're also going to need our connectors. So we need to find the center of our connectors, and I'm just going to base the chain connectors in place. It's easier for me to find my centers when something is basted in place. You're starting to see our bag come together. And to me, when I see the exterior, I immediately start getting excited. All right. So I'm going to find my centers, and I'm just going to take a silver marking pen and make a little mark. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And again, I'm using really thin vinyl, like a more very lightweight vinyl. All right, I got that. So I'm going to find my center here by putting these two pieces together. I have like little pieces everywhere. I'm going to find my center here, and I am going to put where the tube part is going to be shown. Like this. So you want the larger side facing the right side. You want this part to be right here on facing out. I think I'm saying that correct. So you have the part that is curved in and the part that is flat. That's just that there's no curves. So like in figure 104 on page 29, you can see when this bag is turned right, the right sides are inside the bag, that we have not pulled them out. You're going to take the flat side of the chain connector and you're going to put it, the parts, right sides touching, but the flat sides are going to touch the right sides, and you're going to clip it onto the bag. So you should see the curved part right here. Just like this. So look, if you have the pattern piece, look at page 29, figure 104, 104. So I'm going to do that again here on this other side. Get more clips. All right. And then we're going to, we clip that, and we're going to now grab our connector, and we're going to grab a ruler, and we're going to get some measurements. All right. Going to separate these. All right, on the wrong side, we're going to draw a few measurements. We're going to draw, I like to do lines first and then I can go to the center. I'm going to draw a 1/4 of an inch line. A 1 inch line. A 1.5 inch line, and this is all coming from one end. And then a 2 1/4 of an inch. Okay. So there's four measurements. Once you have that, you're going to get a punch, and you're going to punch the holes. All right, have those. Make sure you did interface all your connectors so that way the holes are stable. Goodness, this one hole won't punch to save me at all. Come on now. All right, so we have that. From here, we're going to take our connectors and we're going to then place them where this is the wrong side. We want the right side to be flat inside of here where the center mark is. Right there. So where you drew your center mark, you want to lay right on top of that, the center mark. So wrong sides, and you want all the rivet punches facing down towards the bag. That big portion that has no hole punches, you want it to be clipped onto the bag, pretty sides touching. You should see the wrong sides of the area. Then you're going to base this in place. Okay, and we're going to do it again. All right. All right. We're now going to start doing the lining. So for the lining piece, you're going to need to grab your zipper as well as your zipper placket. All right. So for the zipper placket part, this is what I've been finding. So I'm always trying to find out the best way to do a zipper placket because there's so many different methods. As you see, you're going to see in this zipper placket on page 31 on figures 113 through 115, there is a fire method. Okay. So the fire method is you kind of like bend it and you like singe it. As much as I like fire, and I do like fire, it doesn't really work for me. I wind up singeing my nails, catching the thing on fire. Mine's it always works, try and true, is sewing it or hand sewing it down. So what I've seen that works for me, and I'm just going to give you my tip, is that if the zipper is 15 inches, I like to measure the tape size. So the tape size on this is this, we're doing a size 5 zipper, right? So the size 5 is the size of the coils, but the tape size on each side is exactly a 1/2 inch. So I measure a 1/2 inch down, and then I fold over like so. I take the coil and I fold it over to a 1/2 inch. So if I'll mark a 1/2 inch down, I'll fold over to that 1/2 inch mark with the coil. And then what I'll do is I'll get like a little flag in the back, and I'll fold that flag back, and I'll get the perfect coil. Once I get that, I'll hand sew this back, and I get a perfect curve. Once I get that curve, I'm good to go. I do that for all my zipper plackets, and they look really clean and finished, and I don't get any funky extra tail or anything like that. That's what I do. Everyone has a different method, what they like, and I find out, you got to figure out what works best for you, because what works for the goose doesn't work for the gander. So do what works for you. Some people like to sew the zipper in at a curve, or like put it in the zipper and sew it off like this. Everyone has a different method, and I implore you to see what works for you and what you like. Because again, what works for me may not work for you, and my method might be like a aha moment, and yes, I like that too. So, okay, for what you're going to do is you're supposed to put in your interfacing. From here, you're going to put some double-sided tape, and you're going to wrap the ends around your interfacing, your stabilizer, your Decaville light. This part is going to hurt you because you're going to want to put double-sided tape on here. You can't, and you're going to see why. You're going to be like, I could do whatever I want, Shnova, and you're right, you can. But I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't then. So you're going to take this, you're going to take your finished piece, and you're going to sandwich this in. Okay? And you're going to clip it like the old school way, and you're going to be like, I don't want to do it the old school way. And I'm like, I know, I get you, I feel your pain, but you're going to see why. And then when you see the end result, you're going to be like, wait a minute, there's a method to the madness, and I like it. And I'm going to be like, I know, right? So just fold this over, make raw edges meet. Zipper tape all 3 layers, clip it together, and you can do this. It takes a little time, a little finagling, but you got this. All right, we're going to sew this down at 3/8 of an inch. Back stitch at the beginning and at the end. All right, so I'm going to trim those excess threads. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hop on over to page 32 and we're going to trim 1/8 of an inch all the way around. See, if you would have put double-sided tape, you're going to have to get rid of all that goop. You're not going to touch your zipper tape. Make it a game. But if you're like bad at this part and you're like, I suck at not doing this part, you can get duckbill scissors. But if you do this enough, you can just hold your scissors at a slant. See how mine's is at a slant? You get used to it. And if you had double-sided tape, you wouldn't have done it in 6 seconds like I just did it. There was no fast forwarding. I was talking to you. It's not movie magic. So from here, and this is why you do this. Look at this. What? Poke this through. Tell me this isn't cake without telling me it isn't cake. This is gorgeous. Come on, Alexis, come through. That looks so good. And then if you want to smash this with a hammer to kind of flatten this part out, you can. You could be like, you shall not pass. Like, whatever tensions you have, like, you could be like, you're grounded. Whatever floats your boat, you can smash it. We're going to sew this at 1/8 of an inch on with a wide U. 1, 2, and 3. All right. Isn't that beautiful? It's simply marvelous. So we're going to find the center. You know what I have to do? I have to clip. And bingo. We got it. We're done with that part. We're going to make the zipper pocket. This is fun. Alexis has like a try and true when it comes down to zipper pockets, and I'm here for them because my customers love them. You're going to get out your 8-inch zipper and you're going to grab your zipper pocket lining. You're going to find your center. You're going to baste your 8-inch zipper on here, okay? Your zipper pocket lining, just so you get a heads up, is the smaller narrow piece, okay? You're going to get your zipper pocket front. Now, if you have directional, you're going to want the directional to face downwards. So if your trees are facing this way, if they're going towards your machine or towards the zipper, they're going to look backwards. So you want it to face going the opposite way. You're going to take your 8-inch piece and line it up with the zipper. And you can put a couple clips in there if you wish. And we're going to fit, this is your zipper pocket lining, and this is your zipper pocket front. And you're going to do right sides together. And you're going to sew that bad boy together at 3/8 of an inch. I know why you're all here. You want me to show you how to put in that chain. And don't worry, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you tools and show you what you could do if you don't have tools. I got you, don't worry. I like taking apart stuff, so. My dad is an engineer, and I've been taking apart things since I was a wee lass, and my dad can attest to that. I'm like the Nova the Destroyer. And we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. Make sure everything is aligned, nice and straight. Your zipper pocket is not going askew. We should have like a bingo, like what words I say when I do an Oro Rosa video. All right, we're going to take this and we're going to align it with the back of it, nice and easy. Put a couple clips and baste that in place. Oro Rosa bingo. All right, and then we're going to take our backing and we're going to put this right sides together with the zipper. And again, pay attention to if you have a directional print and it's not like a toss print. But at this point, I think a lot of us use waterproof canvas or like non-directional prints. 3/8 of an inch. All right, this part's not in the pattern, but I'm going to give it to you. You've already been using double-sided tape in here, so let me give you a tip that I do. So when I first started doing her like ledges, I could not wrap around to save my life. Like they just did not wrap around like I seen in her patterns. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? So I make a lot of her patterns to sell when I'm at conventions and when I sell on my Etsy and just sell when people have customs. And this is what I found. If I put like 1/8 or 1/4, whatever I have available of double-sided tape, and then I take this part and I hold it nice and taut and I finger press it, right? And then I fold it back, it holds better. And I have like a nice crisp line. But for whatever the reason may be, beforehand, it didn't work out for me. If you're like me and you struggle with this, that is my solution. If you're doing it with cotton, I recommend you hitting it with an iron and it'll work. Now, this is another tip that I figured out when I was messing up. So you have two lines. You have 1/8 of an inch here and 1/8 of an inch here. So this is how I figured out why I knew I was messing up. If you're top stitching 1/8 of an inch here, it should hit at 3/8 of an inch on your of your zipper. So if you're doing the closest one to the zipper, it should be, when you're sewing it, it should hit exactly at 3/8 of an inch. And that's when I started paying attention to like where my stitches are. And I know when I'm sewing an Oro Rosa pattern, I know exactly where things should fall on my seam allowance. So when I sewed that stitch, I knew that my ledge was absolutely perfect. And that's how you could pay attention. If you want your ledge a little bit thicker and you want it to be like a 1/2 inch, you know that you would need to be, a 1/2 inch. It will be a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Like, it's pretty cool when you start figuring out little tips and tricks that make your bag life easier, because this part right here is, you can make your pocket whatever size you want as long as it fits into the side wings. The side wings are adjustable. It depends on how the depth of you want your slip pocket. But it's pretty cool once you figure little things like that out. You can make modifications and slight adjustments to your bag. All right. So now we're going to lift this front part, this back slip pocket up, and we're going to lift this front pocket up, and we're going to sew 3/8 of an inch on both sides of the lining in order to close off this part. Now, when we make this is a birth-in bag. One of these pockets has to be open at the end so we can birth the bag. This is the pocket we're going to do this at, and I'm going to show you how to do this after we finish constructing this whole entire side. So hear me again. This is a birthing bag. It's not a drop-in lining. We need to have a pocket that stays open in order to birth this bag. So 3/8 of an inch, start back stitching. You're not sewing onto the zipper tape. Back stitch well. And we're going to do that again. Okay, now we need to trim these down to 1/8 of an inch. What I like to do is I like to come in from the side and make sure I don't cut anywhere near the zipper tape, and I trim it. Okay. Then I'm going to grab my zipper pull. Don't forget your zipper pull. It's very easy to do that. Make sure you get them both on. And then you're going to adjust the slip pocket in the back to fit your side wings. And clip. And you can put a tag, a back tag in between these. All right, we're going to stitch at 3/8 of an inch, back stitch at the beginning and the end. My thread broke. Happens sometimes. And then we're going to do it on the other side. I need to back stitch on this one. All right. Okay, and then we're going to trim this the side wings down to 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to sew them top stitch at 1/8 of an inch onto the side wing. All right. We're going to trim the corners off to reduce bulk. We're going to find our center. And we're going to get our zipper and we are going to baste this in place. And you're going to get your top piece, and then you're going to clip this in place, and you're going to sew this with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Back stitch at the beginning and end of each. All right. And you're going to trim, not this top portion, you're going to trim the lining portion with the including the zipper panel to 1/8 of an inch. It might get a little thick. All right, so you're going to fold this over and top stitch the lining down. If this area is too thick, again, you can get your hammer and do what you got to do to get it smashed down. You're going to top stitch on the lining, 1/8 of an inch. Okay. All right, so we're going to open up one pocket, one zipper pocket, and I'm going to show you how. It's on page 37. You're kind of going in between. You're going to carefully cut open the pocket lining. You're going to kind of in between. You're in between the stitches, but you're not. You're not cutting in the stitches. Don't cut the stitches. That's the most important part. So you just want one pocket open, and I'm just going to unzip. You just want one pocket open. All right. Once you have that, you need to repeat this again so you can have two of these. Okay? Once you have two of these, we can get this party started. Okay? You want to trim any excess sides to help reduce bulk. Bulk reduction is kind of a must. It really does help with this bag tremendously. Okay? You're going to put these two bag pieces together. And you're just lining everything up. And we're going to be sewing with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Down the sides. Okay. We're going to do that again, 3/8 of an inch. Just make sure you keep those zippers away from the seam getting stitched by accident. I've done that before too, where I accidentally sewed over the zippers. Wasn't my finest moment. All right. All right. And then we're going to trim this, the sides, and trim the tire sides to 1/8 of an inch. All right. And then you're going to take the main lining and you're going to turn it right sides out. All right. I'm going to mosey on over to page 40 and we're going to place this inside. So I'm going to put the recess zipper down and I'm going to just line this up as best as I can, putting, God, this fits like a glove. Oh my goodness. Just putting it together. And remember, the pocket is supposed to be the back. So you just put your zipper going towards how right or left, depending on how you like it. It depends. I have a lot of lefties in my family, so I have bags going every which way. So we're going to now sew around this, going 3/8 of an inch. raw edges to raw edges. I'm going to get a stiletto. Before our top stitch, I'm definitely going to check my bobbin. Just maneuver around. Just if you have to maneuver anything, make sure your needle is in the needle down position. And let's see. All right. So then we're going to trim along the seam allowance, trimming only the lining. So only trim the lining. Take your time. Like I said, duckbill scissors can help. I hear my puppy snoring. He's not a puppy. He just turned 5. I can hear him snoring in the vent above my head. All right. So we're going to both those now. And I love the way these corners of the feet pop out. They're like little bells. Let's see. Let's just stick everything inside the bag first. You can see your hard work paying off. Look at how beautiful this bag is. How beautiful is this? Oh, I love it. I can give this a good press with my iron just to get any wrinkles out. But man, I love this. Nice, beautiful shade. Yes. All right, I dig this. Okay, so now we're going to pull the lining back out. This is Future Nova, and Future Nova is going to let you know that I made a mistake. So before you try to close up your bag like you're about to see me do, you're going to want to top stitch, because you're going to want to do the pull the threads through the lining with the needle, like I'm going to show you, before you close up the bag. It is so much easier and you don't need a bigger needle. So I'm going to show you how to pull the thread through the lining, but you just want to do it without closing up the lining first. It's just so much easier, because then you don't need a longer needle. So I just want to say that. All right, bye. Briefly, and we're going to close everything up. So we're going to pull the pocket out, and then we're going to just grab this lining. All right, so we're going to find seams, match them. It's a tight space, but it's not terribly uncomfortable. It's well worth it, trust me. The end results are brilliant. All right, we're going to sew this at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Just pop a few more clips. I love when designers come up with lining pieces like Alexa's, because then you don't have to really worry about grading or anything. And because when I have to grade, I'm not gonna lie, low key, I get a little bit stressed out. All right. And we're going to box those corners. Well, first we're going to trim that seam allowance to 1/8 of an inch. Be careful so you don't accidentally cut another part of the lining that you didn't want to cut. That's very easily done. And then box those corners. And we're going to sew those at 3/8 of an inch. Take your time. Put as many clips or pins or whatever you need to do to get it to that point. All right, and we're gonna trim that to 1/8 of an inch. And one more side. Oh, well, we played Bob and Chicken and we won. It was enough to do that last seam. Three-eighths of an inch again, back stitch. All right, we're gonna feed that back in there, and then we're gonna close off this pocket. You could fold it over onto itself. I'm working with waterproof canvas, so it's not really gonna shred. But it'd be nice if I catch it all. I knew I didn't catch it. I knew I should have clipped it. I promise you that in August I'll be getting a new chair, so it won't be as creaky. This chair's like super old. And it sounds like it belongs in a haunted house. So I'm going to top stitch this. And trim those extra threads, the rogue threads, and then stick this in. Okay. We have some top stitching to do. And boy, do we have some top stitching. All right. We're going to take the hand needle into the body of the bag, and we're going to pull the threads in before you do pull the, we're going to pull you pull your hand needle in and tie the threads off before you close up the bag. I'm going to put a disclaimer on that. But I'm going to show you another method where you could just pull the threads in and you'll be good. You could tie them off and just pull them through. But yes, let's start with it. I'm going to start here in the corner so that way I could pull the threads through. But you're going to need long tails. Like long tails, if you think you have long enough tails, maybe just a little bit longer. And I trust my bobbin, so I'm going from the bobbin side, and you could put clips around it if you wish. Take your time. If you have to stop, make sure your needle's in the needle down position. Not position, because that's not a word. Like I said, I picked fairly thinner materials. Like this is thicker, but it's not going to be going where the chain is, and it's not in any area that is going to be affecting where the chain's going through. So like my side panels and my channeling and all that are not as thick. So please listen to the recommendations. The designer, when they design the bags, they like go through so many variations of the bag, and they make like 7, 12, 13 different versions of the bag before they even send it to the testers. So they really know what kind of materials work best. All right, long tails, and so I went all the way around 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to grab a needle, and I need a dull needle. Let's see if I have one. I'll be back. Okay, I don't have a dull needle, but I feel like I can make this needle work. I feel like I can. Let's have faith that I can. I'm going to pull my threads to the front. All right. I'm going to tie off and then I'm just going to take these 2 threads and I'm going to make them even. And this is the longest needle I have. I had a dull needle, but I just don't know where it is. And I'm going to feed it through the hole. And I'm going to get it to feed it directly down. I'm trying to get it into the lining area. And I see it right here. I'm just going to pull it through. Ooh. Sometimes I gotta get my pliers. And you gotta realize it would be a lot easier if I didn't have double-sided tape and all that jazz. And I'm just going to trim off the excess threads that came through. And I'm going to do the same thing for this side. And you're just essentially burying the threads, and it gives it a seamless look. And it's the same thing with trying to pull the threads through the pocket and doing another look. Okay, we're going to do this again. And then we're going to be doing the finishing touches to the back, putting the zipper on and doing the chain and just finishing off the bag. And this is so much easier with a thicker needle. My needle is so thin, so it is not trying to like maneuver through the material. It's like, it is struggling. It's on the struggle bus. Ooh, and it's so sticky right now because it's going through all the double-sided tape and all that jazz. Right. Okay, so I'm gonna meet you over at the grid map, the cutting table, and we're gonna start doing the chain, and I'm gonna go over tools, and we will be almost done with this beautiful project. Okay, so we're here at this stage. You're gonna need your D-rings, a hole puncher, and some rivets. So you're probably like, Shanova, you set me up because these go over. No, they go under, and they kind of sit inside the bag. So what you're going to do is these are going to get folded over. The measurements that you got, the holes should align. Once you have them, you're going to put the holes in a line nice and tight together, and you're going to fold them over like you see on figure 184 on page 43, and you're going to make some markings. In between the holes, you're going to draw a dot. On either side of the holes, you're going to put them on either side of the, that's better. On either side of the crease. You do not want to actually punch a hole into the stitch. If you do that, your whole thing could come unraveled, and you're going to be sad. So you're going to get as close as you possibly can without actually punching into the seam. So I'm going to clip these out of the way because apparently these zippers are like, guess what? We're going to cause mayhem. So you don't want to punch into the seam allowance. Just get as close as you can without and you're gonna okay. Once you got that, you're going to feed your rectangle, your O, your D-ring, whatever you have in here. You're going to put your rivet through. And then we're going to set it. And again, my setter, it's like a like a slight press 2 times. That's 1. And everything should just line up perfectly because it's based off the measurements, and you literally drew the holes from the holes you just created. Cool. All right, that part's done. Let's get the zipper on. Line this little cutie up. Get that on, and then I like to get a piece of double-sided tape. And I like to place it on the back. I like to fold it onto itself. And then I like to fold that fold again. I'm going to get a screwdriver. And I'm just going to finagle that in real quick. I might have to unscrew these a little bit more. Okay, we have a cute little tab, and now let's get into this. Now, there are some testers that are just like feeding this through and then hooking these two together and just keeping the hook side on one end, and you can do that. There's no shame in that game. What Alexis is doing is you're measuring these chains out to be exactly 44 inches, which is the size of Emmeline bags, and you're just removing the links, which I'm going to do. I'm using vice grips, and I'm just opening up the links, and I'm removing the swivel hooks, which you can use for key fobs, like inside bags. Like you can just make like little key fobs for people to find their keys. So these are going to be used for something. So from here, you can use like a bodkin or a safety pin or something that can help you feed this in. I don't have a bodkin, and I have a safety pin, but it kind of just like, it kind of disappeared. If you have bigger hemostats, I found out those worked better. But a bodkin, something straight, can help you feed this in a little bit easier. Trying to get this straight as possible. And just trying to get it to the other side is the name of the game. And I noticed that if you try to just kind of have gravity as your friend, it's not as hard as it looks. The chain, it has weight. It wants to, it doesn't want to stay inside one channel. And I just pulled that out. And I'm going to bring this around to the other side. And again, I'm going to just kind of, I know this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to make sure that there's no double-sided tape that's going to block the channel. We're playing doctor, essentially. And making sure there's no double-sided tape that's going to block it. And then I'm going to funnel this chain. The chain weighs more than the vinyl. And it wants to go through. See, if you funnel it in, it's already like, there it goes, it popped out. So it's not that hard. That part's not hard to me. So what you do next is you need to open these parts up. So again, I'm going to open up with vice grips a little bit at a time, and it's going to open very little. Like, you don't want to Hulk smash like I normally do. Mind the dry cuticles. See, it's opening, and then I'm going to stick, make sure my chain is all not twisted, this part of it in here, and then I'm going to get a pair of pliers and I'm going to close it. That's it. That's it. So the name of the game is use gravity. It's not rocket science. Like, gravity is your friend, and like, as long as your vinyl isn't incredibly stiff and has a lot of glue and stuff like that, you're good. If you do have a lot of double-sided tape in it, put something in it like a chopstick, a ruler, to kind of separate the glue, and lay it on its side and kind of funnel the chain in. That's what I found out to work for me, because the chain is going to, the metal is going to beat vinyl. It's going to want to push its weight in, and it doesn't take that long. I did it live. There was no fast forwarding. There was no movie magic. I'm not that savvy. So you have it. There you have it. You have this beautiful bag that has a nice slip pocket in the back. You have a great interior that has 2 slip pockets, 2 zipper pockets. You can wear it as a crossbody, or you have it as a nice little cute metal handle as a tote. And you have an opportunity to use some beautiful accents. Like, if you have your favorite fabrics, you have the opportunity to do it and create a lot of magic. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please think about subscribing to my channel. It doesn't cost you a thing, but it helps my channel like get seen and recognized. Comment. It does help my channel tremendously. And like. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.